𝒂𝒅 was a sword fanatic, training relentlessly from his youth until joining the Imperial Legion. Despite his obsession, a lack of innate talent meant he could never reach immortality like his peers. On the brink of death, he craved one final swing then. An impossible miracle finally occurred. The gods anointed him the immortal sword saint, yet fate cruelly took him before he could transcend. Dying of old age, he awakens within a lavish estate, trapped in a child's frail body. Exploring this new life, he discovers a noble lady struggling with her swordsmanship in the courtyard. He recognized her raw potential, yet her technique was riddled with amateurish, fatal openings. Suddenly, a wooden blade struck his face. She spat insults at the lowly slave for his audacity. Armed with past life mastery, he gripped the blade to teach the brat a true lesson in power. Concentrating his essence, one devastating strike vaporized the surroundings, leaving nothing but scorched earth. This new vessel was perfect. That overwhelming display of dominance instantly stunned the beautiful Lady Lyca. The prestigious Lady Lyca of Alak Castle froze, eventually kneeling to beg the slave for his tutelage. Who knew her humble servant was a legendary powerhouse? Just then, her arrogant brother Laka intervened. Enraged by a slave's proximity, he demanded a trial by combat survival for 1 minute meant mercy. In a flash, Laka was countered and scarred. Even 𝒂𝒅 was shocked by this body's explosive speed. Humiliated, Laka played a cowardly card, accusing 𝒂𝒅 of an assassination attempt on high nobility. Forced before the Lord, 𝒂𝒅 recognized him a kind-hearted boy he had mentored in his previous life. Thanks to Lyca's intervention, 𝒂𝒅 was granted a trial to prove his divine swordsmanship once more. His opponent? The Royal Guard Captain 𝒂𝒅's own former title. The captain initially dominated the exchange, yet 𝒂𝒅 remained unfazed, merely gauging the pathetic decline of this current generation's strength. Disgusted by their weakness, he unleashed a single blow that sent the captain reeling in agony. He recalled his old regime, forging warriors who once crushed the Demon King's elite for peace. This era was soft, claiming amnesia save for his blade skills. Lyca's plea bought him temporary freedom. The Baron grew suspicious, fearing a Demon King's soul had hijacked the young boy's body. Before their theories finished, a shadowy intruder was discovered lurking right outside the high window. Karen lunged with lethal intent, yet the stranger caught the blade with just 2 fingers. With a simple flick, Karen was tossed aside like trash, groaning in absolute, crushing defeat. If you were younger, this might have been fun, the man teased. Suddenly, Barok bowed deeply. Welcome back after 20 years, Barok whispered. The legendary swordmaster, 𝒕𝒏𝒄𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒕. Barok questioned his disappearance. 𝒕𝒏𝒄𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒕 laughed, claiming he had journeyed to the world's very edge. Still, the ultimate answer eludes me. So, a mere child humbled your elite guards? Karen nodded. An untrained child did this? 𝒕𝒏𝒄𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒕 mused, his interest piqued by this unprecedented genius. In the courtyard, 𝒂𝒅 tutored Lyca. She hesitated, noticing he didn't even have a weapon. The battle begins before the draw, 𝒂𝒅 lectured. Strike me now with the intent to kill. Her hands trembled as she lunged, but 𝒂𝒅 evaded her strikes with effortless, ghostly grace. Her hero's style had potential, yet her defense was riddled with fatal, gaping vulnerabilities. He seized her wrist, slamming her down before catching her just inches from the hard earth. Your forms are pretty, but combat is war. On the battlefield, geniuses are the first to fall. I've watched countless prodigies perish because they relied on talent instead of survival instincts. She lunges desperately, swinging with all her might. Yet, he evades every strike like a fleeting shadow. He gauges her talent silently. Lyca's hero-tier swordsmanship is refined, yet it lacks the weight of death. Her form is riddled with openings. Suddenly, he seizes her wrist, hoisting her midair with effortless strength. He slams her down with crushing force. Lady Lyca, your skills are merely for show, not war. Real combat is a different beast entirely. Can a sheltered genius truly survive the slaughter of battle? I have seen countless prodigies rot in the mud because of their own blinding, pathetic arrogance. To transcend her limits, she had to forge both soul and steel. Lyca rose instantly, her eyes burning with resolve. Who are you truly? She panted. You speak like a veteran of 1,000 bloody wars. 𝒂𝒅 evaded her effortlessly. These are the fundamentals of a master, he countered, seizing her wrist to quell her frantic, unrefined movements. Lyca glared, frustrated. This isn't swordsmanship. Why teach me this? He demanded she abandon her blind faith in raw steel. Simple skills are useless in the abyss. Pure technique won't save your life when the real monsters emerge to hunt. You need true application. Cold, calculated control. To survive the slaughter, you must become an unshakable fortress of calm. Harness your strength to overwhelm. Strike with the weight of your entire being. Lecca watched him, her mind finally awakening. No matter how she searched, his form was flawless. 𝒂𝒅's movements were a terrifying dance of lethal, god-tier perfection. Now, we begin the real combat grind, he declared. Lecca's spirit ignited with a fierce, competitive hunger for power. They clashed until the sun bled into the horizon. Exhausted, Lecca dragged her broken body back toward the manor. Her limbs felt like lead, every muscle screaming. Does that monster have no concept of human limits? She cursed. A noble lady pushed to such extremes. Yet, his monstrous stamina remained untouched. Still, she felt her own power surging. She was growing stronger by the second. Suddenly, Luke blocked her path, his face twisted in a mask of jealousy. Playing with that lowly servant again? He spat. Lecca snapped back. We weren't playing. We were preparing for war. Luke sneered, dismissing her growth as a disgrace. Lecca brushed past him, her heart already hardened against his petty arrogance. Think what you want, she muttered coldly. Luke roared. Remember your bloodline. You are tarnishing the dignity of our house. A high-born lady learning from a commoner is an insult. You are a hanvak, not a peasant student. Stop this. Suddenly, a wooden blade touched his throat. Lecca's gaze was lethal. Keep talking, and I'll silence you myself. Luke trembled, his bravado shattering instantly. You'd strike the air? The future, Lord? Don't you dare touch me, girl. A sister threatening her own brother. What a rare, delightful spectacle. A booming voice interrupted their heated confrontation. 𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒂𝒓 bowed in shame, apologizing for the unsightly display. He then turned a piercing, stern gaze toward his daughter. Lecca! He barked. She stood straight, unblinking. 𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒂𝒓's expression darkened with the weight of a duke's authority. I spared 𝒂𝒅 once, but no one harms Luke. Not even you. Defy me again, and there will be consequences. I understand, father, she replied tonelessly, her eyes drifting to the mysterious, grinning warrior standing beside the duke. What a fascinating family dynamic, Haiban chuckled. Lecca realized this man's presence was suffocating. He was no ordinary guest. When Luke identified him as the Sword Saint, Lecca's heart nearly stopped. A Sword Saint, a living legend of the continent. Luke immediately began groveling, boasting of his status as the sole rightful heir to the legendary hanvak legacy. Lecca stood frozen in awe. A Sword Saint, the absolute pinnacle of martial power, a god among men who ruled the battlefield. Less than 10 had ever reached such heights in history. Luke saw this as his golden ticket to ultimate supremacy. I have worshipped your legend. Please, take me as your disciple, Luke begged, desperate to claim the saint's power. He thought smugly, Lecca is nothing. Only a Sword Saint is worthy of polishing my path to the throne. But Haiban ignored the heir, stepping toward Lecca with an intrigued smirk. Hello there, little lady. You have fire. Luke's world collapsed in an instant. Rejected? Haiban's focus remained solely on the girl with the icy, determined eyes. He analyzed her spirit. Fascinating. Most would crumble before me, but this girl, she is already coiled to strike. She showed zero fear in the presence of a god. Shall I test the depth of your resolve, little one? Without warning, Haiban's hand moved like lightning. An overwhelming, mountain-crushing pressure descended directly upon Lecca's head. 𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒂𝒓 gasped in horror. Lord Haiban. But Lecca stood her ground, staring into the eyes of the strongest man alive. 𝒂𝒅's training echoed in her soul. Never let their momentum break you. Stay calm. Control the flow of battle. Swinging on instinct is the path to the grave. Composure is the only shield that matters in a duel. As the saint's strike fell, Lecca didn't flinch. She saw the trajectory. She felt the ripple in the very air. Asterisk clang. Asterisk. Her wooden sword blocked the legend's blow. Haiban's grin widened, his eyes sparking with genuine, predatory delight. Incredible. Most children flee in terror from my killing intent, unable to even breathe in my shadow. They usually shatter under the weight of my aura. But you stood firm against the storm and countered. You possessed the soul of a true master. While he was lost in thought, Lecca didn't waste a second. She channeled every ounce of her 𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂 potential, hurling his blade aside with a defiant, bone-chilling battle cry. With a lethal zigzag, 𝒂𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒂𝒏𝒂 charges the legend, her speed defying logic. Moving like a viper, 𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏 Impressive, kid. Then a sudden shift. Lecca collapses in agony. Haiban's blade cold against her throat. Panic rises. Stop, my lord. Haiban smirks. She's braver than your pathetic son, 𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒂𝒓𝒅. Lecca seethes. Will the sword saint really take her as a disciple? 𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒂𝒓 nods grimly. Haiban leans in. Did you see an opening, kid? Lecca surges up, kicking out fiercely. She snatches her blade, standing tall. The master's hand drops on her head. A sneak attack while I'm distracted? When did he get behind her? Haiban delivers a chilling, honest verdict. You could rival Revan one day. Tell me, who taught you to kill? Lecca obeys, trembling. This man is the real deal, a living god of war. Inside the carriage, silence reigns. He parried her full power like a toy. Even her father cowers. Haiban breaks the ice. Your name is Lecca, right? She nods. He asks about the boy. What do you see in his sword? She recalls 𝒆𝒅's form. It's perfect. Like a veteran who's lived 1,000 lives. Haiban roars with laughter. An 18-year-old boy with an ancient soul? They reach the grounds. It's been ages. I fought many wars here with him. 𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒂𝒓 looks curious. And where is that legendary friend now, my lord? He left this world. Haiban sighs. 𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒂𝒓 offers a hollow apology. It's been 20 years. Then, they see him. 𝒆𝒅 is still grinding. Lecca calls out. 𝒆𝒅 stops, wiping sweat. Lady Lecca, you're back? Then his heart stops. Sword Saint Haiban is standing right there. 𝒆𝒅 stares at his old brother-in-arms. A new life, but the same ghost. A pleasure, 𝒆𝒅. Haiban smiles, unaware he's facing his former leader. 𝒆𝒅 remembers. Haiban was the Lord's shadow. Sword Saint Haiban? Haiban laughs like a madman. You know me? I've been looking for you. Suddenly, the air turns cold. Haiban's hand grips his hilt. Murderous intent? 𝒆𝒅 smirks. He knows this game. The talent test is about to begin. 𝒆𝒅 doesn't wait. He draws first. A flash of steel cuts the air. Haiban freezes. That speed. It's impossible. Memories flood 𝒆𝒅's mind. Royal swordsmanship is just a dance. 𝒆𝒅 had once told a young Haiban, it's nothing compared to your raw talent, friend. Keep growing. Haiban had laughed then. We just walk different paths to the peak. Now, the legend warms up. How about a rematch, boy? For old time's sake? Gladly. The duel explodes. Steel screams against steel in perfect harmony. A new body, but the same soul. Haiban's eyes widen in disbelief. He whispers the forbidden title, Captain? 𝒆𝒅's heart nearly stops. Time freezes. The air grows heavy. 𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒂𝒓 stammers, My lord? What was that? Nothing. Haiban mutters, shaking. He looks at 𝒆𝒅. Hey, kid. Are you his disciple? Did Revan teach you that strike? 𝒆𝒅 exhales. He's safe. I have no master. I don't know that name. Haiban grins, a wild light in his eyes. Then, become my disciple instead. 𝒆𝒅 is floored. 𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒂𝒓 turns pale. A saint. Taking a commoner disciple? Lecca's face twists in pure rage. The chaos is only just beginning. Hold it right there. Sword saint or not, you can't just swing your blade at innocent people. What kind of saint acts like a common thug? Does that title give you the right to be a tyrant? Lecca's words left everyone speechless. Her father, 𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒂𝒓, panicked. Child, watch your tongue. You're being beyond disrespectful. It's fine, 𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒂𝒓, the old man chuckled. The youth of today clearly lack eyes for true greatness. He leaned down to reclaim his blade. Allow me to show you a glimpse of reality. A sudden gale erupted. The atmosphere grew heavy as 𝒆𝒅 looked on with cold indifference. So, that's aura. Haiban roared with pride. Indeed, the divine mark of a true sword saint. His eyes blazed with a terrifying golden light of rage. With a simple thrust, the earth shrieked. A massive chasm ripped through the ground, radiating overwhelming killing intent. It was a force of nature no mortal could stop. Even 𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒂𝒓 trembled. Is this the power of a legend? In a heartbeat, the The landscape was decimated. Through the rising dust, 𝒦𝒏𝒄𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒂𝒓𝒅 declared, "I am the sword saint. With your talent, you could reach the heavens. Well, boy, do you wish to be my disciple?" 𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒂𝒓𝒅 heart nearly stopped. Being the student of a saint? That was a guaranteed ticket to god-tier status. Even Leica hesitated, thinking, he's terrifyingly strong. If I trained under him, just how far could I go? Thousands would kill for this chance. Yet, after being recruited so desperately, 𝒆𝒅 gave a flat, cold refusal. The trio stood frozen by his blunt rejection. Meanwhile, rumors spread through the city like wildfire. "A sword saint has arrived. Is it true? I'll do anything to be his student." Just one look. The gates were swarmed by the frantic crowd. Karen stepped forward. "Go home. Sir 𝒦𝒏𝒂𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂 Who is it? Can he please accept more students? Inside, the main character continued his relentless grind. The noise outside didn't break his focus, though he felt curious. It's quite the circus out there. He glanced up to see Haiban approaching him once again. Shouldn't you be leaving, sir? Haiban just smirked, casually taking a drink. I've got nowhere else to go. I think I'll just stay by your side for a bit. 𝒂𝒅 groaned. Are you kidding me right now? Are you really turning me down? Haiban persisted. 𝒂𝒅 didn't blink. I said no, and I meant it. This legendary warrior was acting like a persistent ghost. Why would I be a student to an old friend? 𝒂𝒅 pointed toward Leica. Train her instead. Her potential far outweighs mine. A sudden chill filled the air. Haiban sighed. I asked. She refused me with such grace, claiming she already has the perfect master. She won't bow to anyone else. A truly loyal soul. 𝒂𝒅 watched her, stunned by her absolute devotion. She gave up a saint's teachings just to learn from me? As night fell, a darker shadow loomed. A lone drunk stumbled through the empty streets, his mind poisoned by bitter resentment and failure. He recalled Haiban's insults. Your son is a coward, but your daughter, she has the heart of a lion. How dare he insult a noble? It's all his fault. That brat needs to disappear forever. He drained his bottle in a rage. Suddenly, a thick, suffocating black fog began to coil around him. The glass shattered as he collapsed in terror. Whoa, what is this? Get away from me! The darkness tightened like a noose. Then, a pair of glowing crimson eyes manifested in the void. A demonic grin split the shadows. In an instant, the drunkard vanished, reappearing amidst ancient, crumbling ruins. He groaned, crawling away from the wreckage. Where am I? What happened to the city? From the chilling silence, a voice echoed. So, you are the heir to the Lucan family estate? A figure in a black cloak emerged, his smile unnaturally wide. I've been expecting you, little lamb. Back at the palace, Leica pouted in frustration. I can't stand that arrogant old man. He's insufferable. 𝒂𝒅 kept swinging his blade. He is a sword saint, Leica. A little respect wouldn't kill you. You don't respect him either, she snapped. 𝒂𝒅 paused, his argument falling apart under her gaze. That's different. We're equals. Besides, his hero tier techniques are actually worth mastering. I don't care about heroes, Leica whispered. I only want to be like you. 𝒂𝒅 froze in shock. She stepped closer, brushing the dust from his shoulder. You are the only peak I wish to climb. Don't sell yourself short. To me, you are the greatest master in the entire world. 𝒂𝒅 stood in silence, Leica's praise echoing in his mind as he questioned his own worth. In a world of legendary arts, he believed he lacked the divine talent of true heroes. While others chased heroic techniques to transcend humanity, 𝒂𝒅 clung to something far more humble. He mastered imperial swordsmanship, a basic style for the masses, the only path for the talentless. He dedicated his life to this simple art, yet one question haunted his very soul. Why would a prodigy like Leica respect him? Her heart, however, held a different truth. 𝒂𝒅 was the one who forged her strength, shielding her from Haiban's overwhelming pressure. To her, he wasn't talentless. He was the guiding light in her darkest training hours. Suddenly, Haiban crashed their moment, teasing the lovebirds while holding a mysterious artifact. Leica's face flushed crimson as she snapped back, demanding to know what he was carrying. With a mischievous grin, the master revealed a gift tailored for 𝒂𝒅's unique combat style. 𝒂𝒅 hesitated, knowing his foundation was built solely on the most practical, gritty techniques. Imperial swordsmanship wasn't about flashy moves. It was a realistic style forged for pure survival. Unlike hero arts bound by rigid principles, his style was a blank canvas of adaptability. It allowed him to wield any tool of destruction, a necessity born from brutal wars. On the battlefield, talent didn't matter, only the will to survive using every weapon available. 𝒦ban presented the iron gauntlets, but these were far more than mere armor pieces. Focus your intent, the master urged. Imagine the weapon you need to strike down enemies. 𝒆𝒅 whispered dagger, and crackling lightning surged as the air itself began to warp. A razor-sharp blade materialized instantly, leaving everyone stunned by the artifact's raw utility. It was top-tier space magic, a storage system that responded only to the user's mental command. This artifact didn't just hold items, it bridged the gap between thought and lethal execution. 𝒆𝒅 realized its worth. For a master of many weapons, this was a god-tier upgrade. But curiosity struck, why would a legendary hero create something for a jack-of-all-trades warrior? 𝒦ban's eyes softened. He made it for a dear friend who died too soon. Leica realized he was talking about the mysterious companion from 20 years ago. That friend was a talentless swordsman who refused to abandon his own path to greatness. He walked the lonely road of the mundane until it earned a hero's absolute respect. Looking at the gauntlets, 𝒆𝒅 felt the weight of a legacy he never knew existed. He had always kept his distance from legends, fearing his lack of talent made him worthless. Yet, here was a legendary master offering a gift meant for someone exactly like him. 𝒦ban saw the resemblance, the same grit, the same stance, and the same unwavering eyes. "Become my disciple," the old master offered, a proposal that could change destiny itself. Leica sighed at the master's persistence, but 𝒆𝒅's response was finally different this time. He accepted the tutelage temporarily, vowing to keep Leica's training as his top priority. To seal the pact, 𝒆𝒅 summoned his weapon, his fighting spirit burning like wildfire. 𝒦ban laughed, drawing his own invincible blade as the air grew heavy with tension. Leica watched from the sidelines, knowing 𝒆𝒅 had finally found a teacher for his soul. Steel clashed against spear as the two warriors began a dance of absolute destruction. Meanwhile, shadows moved in the village as a mysterious figure approached the disgraced Luke. A cold chill swept over Luke as the stranger revealed their identity, the Motoru assassins. They sought permission to operate within the territory, offering a deal with the devil. Luke trembled. Motoru was the world's most feared murder guild, a legend of 50 years. Why were these monsters here? A dark realization began to form in his mind. "I'll grant your request," Luke sneered, his fear turning into a scheme for ultimate revenge. "Kill him now!" the assassin roared as the deadly contract was sealed in blood. Nearby, 𝒆𝒅 and 𝒦ban clashed in a fierce duel. The air shrieked with the sound of grinding steel. 𝒆𝒅 switched to his primary weapon, his true specialty. 𝒦ban watched closely, analyzing every lethal movement. 𝒆𝒅 lunged with every ounce of his strength, but the sword saint blocked the strike with his massive blade. 𝒦ban smiled, genuinely impressed by the display. Incredible. His fundamental combat movements are sharpened to perfection. 𝒆𝒅 parried the counterstrike with desperate precision. "That was everything I had," he panted heavily. "Is that so?" 𝒦ban unleashed a devastating final blow from his legendary sword. The force sent 𝒆𝒅 flying backward. A shame. You lack the natural instinct for heroic swordsmanship. Despite his words, 𝒦ban's eyes blazed with excitement. He saw immense potential in his new disciple. Suddenly, 𝒆𝒅 hurled a hidden dagger, but 𝒦ban's legendary reflexes allowed him to catch it mid-air. "Ho? It seems you've already mastered the weight of that artifact." 𝒆𝒅 grinned with newfound confidence. "In a real fight, master, every dirty trick counts." "True. You cannot bridge the gap of heroic swordsmanship with royal techniques alone. That is why magic must supplement your weaknesses." 𝒆𝒅 caught the returned blade, nodding in agreement. "It has been extremely useful. I have trained like a demon every single day to adapt. I still mentor Layla, though her raw talent far exceeds mine." 𝒦ban paused, deep in thought. That child. "Aren't you worried about your own sanity with her constantly nearby?" "Not at all. But this old man is annoyingly overprotective," 𝒆𝒅 retorted. 𝒦ban sat on the ground with a bored sigh. "How dull. Your stoic personality is just like that other guy." "You mean the one who only learned royal swordsmanship?" "He was a desperate man who felt talentless." 𝒆𝒅 felt a pang of guilt deep inside. Is that what people really thought of him? We all thought he lacked talent. But now, I truly wonder what real talent even looks like. Acer stared at his old friend in total shock. He never expected such humility from the arrogant sword saint. A blessing had turned into a profound realization. What could have changed his perspective in just a few years? Suddenly, Layla rushed over with urgent news. Master Haiban, we have unexpected visitors from the Empire. She hesitated for a moment before speaking. The Imperial envoys have arrived at our gates. The Empire? Haiban sighed, as if he had been expecting this trouble. An Imperial carriage waited at the gates. Every soldier knelt in a display of absolute submission. Great Sword Saint, the Emperor summons you. Please return to the capital with us immediately. Haiban crossed his arms with a majestic aura. I expected the Royal Guard captain, not you lackeys. The soldier trembled under his gaze. The captain is currently away on another secret mission, sir. Fine, I was leaving tomorrow anyway. Go rest, the hour is late. The soldiers bowed in deep gratitude. Haiban placed a firm hand on the man's shoulder. It was good to see you again after all this time. The man stammered a nervous farewell. Haiban turned back to Acer with a warm smile. Take care, kids. We will surely meet again one day. Whatever path you choose, keep moving forward. Layla nodded silently as the legend departed. Flashback. Under a cold, full moon in his past life, Acer pushed his body beyond its breaking point. You have zero talent, a mocking voice echoed. Why not just quit and find a real job? Acer ignored the insults, swinging his blade again. I do what I want. Failure cannot stop me. So stop watching and get lost. Linnea leaned against the door, her eyes cold as ice. Just a word of advice. You will never achieve anything with your pathetic skills. You will die as a nameless, third-rate swordsman. That is your only future. Acer bolted awake from the haunting nightmare. Even in sleep, he clutched the gauntlet with white knuckles. Thunder crashed outside as he remembered Linnea, the genius who branded him a worthless failure. You said I would achieve nothing? Look at me now. I reached the pinnacle of a sword saint, teaching a mere child, achieving your legendary heights. Stop joking, Linnea. You are dead wrong. Acer abandons his sleep. He carries his blade into the midnight courtyard. Suddenly, he's not the only one awake. Haiban approaches with hands behind his back. Training at this hour, master? A nightmare kept my eyes open. And you, sir? Haiban smiles sadly. I leave at dawn. Our paths won't cross for a long time, disciple. We shared some good times. His expression shifts instantly. His cold gaze pierces through the young protagonist. I've wandered for 20 years, uncovering the hidden contradictions of this world. But meeting you changed everything. I believe I finally found it. Acer recoils in sheer confusion. Master? Why this sudden, terrifying bloodlust? Haiban's eyes burn crimson. A murderous aura explodes around him. Drawing his blade, he mutters, My beliefs were wrong. Acer stands frozen, watching the man. Without hesitation, the master swings. A lethal arc slices through the dark. The sword shatters the earth upon impact. Shockwaves erupt, sending debris flying everywhere. The very ground begins to tremble. Acer draws his steel in desperate defense, but a shocking realization hits him. Haiban wasn't targeting him at all. He struck the hidden lurkers behind him. One slash decimated the cowards in the shadows. The threat was neutralized instantly. Sensing the movement, Acer spins around. Bodies are sent flying through the air. Haiban stands there, face grim. This is my 20-year truth. Demons have been hunting me relentlessly, lurking in the shadows, never stopping. Demonic corpses now litter the ground. Why are they here? Acer gasps. Weren't they banished by the hero? Haiban gives a bitter, gentle smile. That is the story everyone knows. The hero defeated the Demon King. The darkness was supposed to vanish forever. Evil was supposedly purged from this world. That is the official history. But history is a beautiful lie. The truth is far darker. The Demon King and his kin never left. They hunt me to bury the truth. But look, another horde has already arrived. Twisted, grotesque monstrosities surround them both, each one more hideous than the last. Nightmarish creatures hungry for slaughter. Only one objective remains. Kill them all. The demons bare their fangs, lunging forward. Acer readies his blade. He swings his sword with lethal precision. Two demons strike from behind. In a flash, his weapon transforms. The sword becomes a massive, heavy axe. A single spin crushes the monsters nearby. Haiban watches, deeply impressed. Those movements. Those veteran skills. He fights like a seasoned warrior of old, a master soul in a child's body. It's like seeing an old friend again. You are no ordinary child, boy. You possess true, terrifying talent. Legendary swordsmanship dwells within you. They fight as one, a storm of steel. The demonic ranks are utterly obliterated. They tear through the mindless beasts. Haibon delivers the crushing final blow. What kind of god-tier power is this? The demons collapse, twitching in agony. Their pathetic, strange cries fill the night. Only absolute devastation remains behind. Haibon executes them without a shred of mercy. Demons have returned. Honestly, Acer, I suspected you. I thought you were a skinwalker, a monster who devoured a child's memories. Acer's eyes widen in pure shock. A doppelganger? Haibon nods honestly. But demons cannot mimic such transcendent sword mastery. You are truly human. A boy mirroring my fallen friend. Now, I must head to the Empire. I will expose the truth. Warn them of the encroaching danger. Then, I'll find the missing hero. Until we meet again, Acer. Next time, we talk much longer. Haibon vanishes into the morning mist. Sunlight filters through the cracks. Acer lies awake, staring at the ceiling. His mind is a storm of questions. Did the hero fail 20 years ago? Is the Demon King still lurking? The world was once a sea of fire. The hero was like a blazing star, a beacon that blew the demons away, a powerful figure from the legends. But just like Haibon said, he vanished 20 years ago, deserting his land and his people. Where could a legendary hero go? If he failed to slay the king, how has the world stayed peaceful? Regardless of the secrets hidden in shadow, my path remains the same. The mission burns in my soul. Whether the truth is revealed or not, I will raise this blade high. That resolve will never change. Armed with a simple wooden sword, Acer steps out with burning determination. A new legend is being forged. 𝒂𝒅. A voice calls his name. Urushu stands there, wearing a twisted, ghastly grin. He blocks the way. He hands Acer a cryptic little note. Nearby, a Motoru assassin reports. I can handle this alone, boss. Is backup really necessary? He's just the Sword Saint's disciple. A mere brat playing at war. That talentless brat only knows royal swordsmanship. Some scoff, but others know the hidden danger. He's completely different. Remember, royal swordsmanship once pushed our entire kind to extinction. Never forget that day. The soldier stammers, claiming the organization was far weaker back then. Everything has changed now. As the hero's successor, I will never lose to a lowly technique. He will die by my hand. Royal swordsmanship is nothing compared to my legendary heritage. The elder strokes his long white beard, watching the boy. Our protagonist follows a mysterious command. He heads toward a dark, secluded alley. A cold smile plays on his lips. He expected this. He stops suddenly and calls out the rats. A dark vortex erupts, and the Motorola assassins emerge. Acer stares them down, asking what they want. The masked killers are stunned. How did he sense them? The leader laughs, stepping forward with murderous intent. Fascinating. So you knew we were here? Did the Sword Saint warn you about us, boy? Acer sneers. He knows them better than they think. In his past life, he wiped their bases from the map. These pests have been infesting this land for too long. The leader spits out insults of pure contempt. You've just walked into your own burial ground. Acer chuckles at the threat. He instantly slaughters an assassin trying to strike from the shadows. A warning. Even when torn to pieces, you all talk too much. The atmosphere turns freezing cold. The leader pales. How do you know our past defeats? Acer remains calm, his eyes locked on his goal. The past doesn't matter, only my mission does. He draws his blade, ready to ignite the massacre. Meanwhile, at the royal palace. It has been a long time, son of the Empire. Haibon smirks. 20 years have passed. The once wise king is now just a man crushed by reality. The king remains unfazed by the disrespect. Your insolence toward the crown is as sharp as ever. Haibon sits casually. Thrones mean nothing to him. My path is the sword, not your petty power play. The king cuts to the chase. Rumors say the great rift has opened and demons have returned. A heavy silence falls over the hall. Haibon finally reveals his true motive for appearing. Finding the hero is the top priority. I need the Empire's absolute cooperation for this hunt. The king sighs. It won't be that simple. Haibon turns, his eyes filled with sharp confusion. The Emperor explains the grim reality. The hero isn't the only thing that has vanished recently. We are facing a pathetic shortage of elite warriors. What exactly are you saying, Your Majesty? Back to the Alley of Blood. I was going to kill you, but now I want answers. Tell me, how do you know our secret history? 𝒂𝒅 says nothing, offering only a silent challenge. The assassins charge all at once. With one legendary strike, 𝒂𝒅 cuts down the entire group. The masked leader mocks his struggle. Desperate moves from a weakling won't save your life. You must have hidden weapons under those rags. He miscalculates the true source of the boy's power. 𝒂𝒅 smiles. The fool doesn't know about the spatial magic. His ignorance will be his final mistake. This is the end for you. You will perish under my grand Motorola swordsmanship. 𝒂𝒅 mutters the name. Motorola swordsmanship. He watches the lethal form take shape once again. A style that strikes from the darkness at vital points. The deadly technique is finally revealed in full. The leader is impressed you recognize this divine art? Now, die as a sacrifice to our greatness. The assassin blurs into a shadow. 𝒂𝒅 fails to predict the speed and takes a direct hit. A devastating blow sends him reeling. He survives the impact, but his life hangs by a thread. His sword clatters to the ground. Die, you stubborn brat! The leader howls in triumph. 𝒂𝒅 wipes the blood away. You actually have some talent. It's a difficult style to master, after all. The killer brags of his status. I am one of the 13 honorary elites of Motorola. 𝒂𝒅 mocks the title. An elite? How pathetic. Clinging to a name while facing a god. Why is your group targeting me? An assassin never explains his reasons to a corpse. 𝒂𝒅 looks down, hiding a predatory grin. Since I'm dying anyway, why not tell me the truth? Grant a dying man's wish? The leader sneered, finally revealing the cold, hard truth. We came specifically to end you, he confessed, under the Prophet's direct command. Targeting me? 𝒂𝒅's eyes went cold. Suddenly, his blade struck like lightning. A lethal blow to the stomach left the assassin paralyzed in pure, utter confusion. Lowly tricks won't kill me, 𝒂𝒅 whispered. Meanwhile, Luke sat back, savoring expensive wine. Thinking the thorn in his side was gone, he toasted to 𝒂𝒅's supposed demise. You were talented, but outclassed. Luke chuckled until a chilling voice shattered the silence. Luke's wineglass shattered on the floor. 𝒂𝒅 stood there, a phantom in the doorway. We need to talk, 𝒂𝒅's voice echoed. Luke trembled. How? How are you alive? Disappointed to see me? 𝒂𝒅's calm expression was more terrifying than any monster. Did he really slaughter the Motorola assassins alone? Fear began to consume Luke's soul. Realizing 𝒂𝒅 knew the truth about the hit, Luke felt his heart stop. Stay back! Luke screamed. But 𝒂𝒅's sword was already drawn, shimmering with deadly intent. The blade whistled past Luke's ear, a hair's breadth from claiming his very life. I tolerated you until now, 𝒂𝒅 warned. But you've crossed the ultimate line, young master. Drowned in tears and snot, the noble begged for mercy. His pride completely shattered. This is my final warning. Stop disturbing my peace, or suffer the consequences. I hope we never meet again. 𝒂𝒅 cold walked away, leaving a broken man behind. As 𝒂𝒅 vanished, the Motorola survivors crawled back to their master in shame. We failed. They reported to their leader, the legendary head of the Motorola tribe. Royal swordsmanship, the old man muttered. This child is becoming a true nightmare. Who is he really? Just then, a piercing, arrogant laugh filled the dark chamber. You think he's linked to the former guard captain? Just because of his sword style? The Motorola failed against a mere brat? How pathetic. The woman sneered with disdain. Our history with the royal guard is bloody, the leader replied, his eyes narrowing. I'll handle the brat myself, she vowed, with the divine power of God Meru. Back in the village, a thick, suffocating atmosphere hung over the common folk. Assassins targeted the young master. The news spread through the streets like wildfire. 𝒂𝒅 killed them. People gasped. That troublemaker became the Sword Saint's disciple? No one could believe the village failure had evolved into such a monstrous powerhouse. Karen rushed to inform Lord Barak, whose face was clouded with dark suspicion. Motorola assassins in my territory? Barak growled, his anger reaching a boiling point. The village could have been leveled. He cursed Luke's absolute stupidity for this chaos. Where's that fool? Karen replied. Hiding in his room, paralyzed with fear. A future lord endangering his own people. Barak sighed. He needs a harsh lesson. He then shifted his focus to the village, gauging the people's shifting hearts. "The threat is gone," Karen reported, "and the villagers are starting to worship 𝒂𝒅." 𝒂𝒅's mind raced. 𝒂𝒅 was a mystery he couldn't afford to ignore. "We must thank him." But Karen hesitated. Who is 𝒂𝒅 really? How did he change? 𝒂𝒅 stared into the distance. A person doesn't just gain such power overnight. He's not a demon, but he's dangerous. That strength could easily crush this territory. He saved us this time, but we must know where his loyalty truly lies. "A chance to test him has arrived," 𝒂𝒅 whispered, eyes flashing with calculation. Karen watched in silence as the Lord prepared a test that would decide everything. 𝒂𝒅 unrolled a mysterious scroll, his hands trembling slightly. "This is our only chance." Chaos rages outside, but 𝒂𝒅 remains calm. He slowly wipes fresh blood from his blade. His mind drifts to last night's Molia encounter. After crushing their leader, 𝒂𝒅 demanded the truth. Trembling, the man confessed. They had no personal grudge. They were merely following divine orders. A divine prophecy demanded 𝒂𝒅's head. They tracked him here the moment he arrived in town. 𝒂𝒅 saw through them. They planned to use this chaos to seize control of the entire village. The leader gathered his courage and begged for mercy. He hoped his honesty would buy his life. But 𝒂𝒅's gaze remained ice-cold. He never promised to let a cold-blooded killer walk free. One swift stroke ended it. Now, 𝒂𝒅 wonders, what is the Manhwa cult truly plotting? The Manhwa cult fanatics who worship a dark god. They crave power and total domination. Their elites are granted divine strength. They use this power to expand their dark, bloody influence. In his past life, 𝒂𝒅 annihilated them all. But now, they have returned to hunt him. How does their god know about his reincarnation? The mystery deepens with every dark shadow. To find the truth, he must reach the capital. Someone there knows his secret of regression. A knock at the door breaks his focus. Laika enters, her face pale and completely drained. 𝒂𝒅 calls her name. She snaps back to reality, bearing heavy, soul-crushing news of her fate. "I've been sold into an arranged marriage," she whispers. Panic and despair fill her weary eyes. Her scream echoes through the halls. Lord Liberoc tries to soothe her, but he is powerless. "We have no choice, Laika," he sighs. "Just meet him once. He might be a hero." Realizing her father's pain, Laika agrees. She turns to 𝒂𝒅 to vent her mounting, bitter sorrow. 𝒂𝒅 listens intently as she describes the trap she's in. An arranged marriage, a gilded cage. Laika sighs deeply. It's not a union, it's a business transaction between high-ranking, greedy, noble houses. That family must be incredibly powerful, 𝒂𝒅 muses. Laika nods, her spirit broken and weary. "It's the Count of 𝒕𝒏𝒈." 𝒂𝒅's eyes widen. 𝒕𝒏𝒈? Why are they involved in this mess? Count 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒏, a man once hailed as a legendary hero in the old wars. Now a respected lord, 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒂𝒏 is known for his wisdom and benevolent, peaceful rule. 𝒂𝒅 remembers him from his previous life. He wasn't the strongest, but he was truly noble. The people adored him. But then, 𝒂𝒅 blunders, asking a question that halts the room. "Is the old lord marrying you?" Laika freezes. "Are you insane? It's for his young son." "The lord is over 50 years old," she cries. Just the thought sends shivers down her spine. 𝒂𝒅 realizes his mistake. Still, something feels off. Why would that man force this union? In his past life, 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏's son was never part of such a cold political game. He recalls when 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏 brought young Boros to him, asking 𝒂𝒅 to teach him swordsmanship. Back then, 𝒂𝒅 praised the boy's courage. Boros was a true warrior in the making. 𝒂𝒅 remembers asking the Lord about the rumors of a grand, political noble engagement. The Lord had shaken his head. "I want my son to marry for love, not status. Whether a noble or a commoner, his heart should choose." Those words stayed with 𝒂𝒅. 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏 was never arrogant. But even he seems crushed by the weight of the nobility. Laika changes the subject, pulling 𝒂𝒅 back from his memories of a time long past. "I heard you wiped out those assassins alone," she whispers. "Your strength is truly terrifying, 𝒂𝒅." She looks at her trembling hands. "I wish I were strong. Now, I cannot even fight." Seeing her sadness, 𝒂𝒅 offers rare praise. "You have talent, Laika. Don't lose your way." Touched, Laika looks up. She has one final request before her life as a lady begins. She grips a wooden sword. "Will you help me? Just one last match. Teacher 𝒂𝒅." One last battle, she screams. Don't you dare hold back. Show me your true god-tier power. 𝒂𝒅 smirks, his aura flaring. Steel and wood clash as the final, epic lesson begins. Drained from training, 𝒂𝒂 dropped her blade and collapsed. Breathless, she felt 𝒂𝒅 approaching her side. I'm finished, she gasped. Suddenly, her mother appeared, eyes welling with pity for her exhausted child. 𝒂𝒂 frowned at her mother's tears. Why so sad? You survived your own arranged marriage just fine. Wiping her eyes, 𝒕𝒂 sighed. Your father and I were friends. You've never even met this man. They are a legendary hero bloodline. This alliance ensures our family's survival, no matter what happens. 𝒕𝒂 then turned to 𝒆𝒅 with a heavy request. When �𝒂 leaves for their territory, can you escort and protect her? 𝒂𝒅 hesitated, his sharp eyes narrowing. You want me? 𝒕𝒂 smiled warmly. She needs a friend in that strange land. You're the one she trusts most. 𝒆𝒅 finally nodded, understood. Secretly, he was eager to finally face the legendary Vanbaka. Departure day arrived. �𝒂, in a long gown, glared at the person sitting across from her. Why is Karen coming too? She asked. Both men sat in a suffocating, icy silence. �𝒂 sighed heavily. Why did father send two people who clearly despise each other? It is the Lord's command, Karen replied coldly. But a darker shadow loomed over his true mission. Karen was there to spy. The Lord suspected 𝒂𝒅's true goals secretly involved �𝒂 herself. Has he been hiding a sinister scheme? 𝒂𝒅 wouldn't risk his life for a place he hated. He wasn't the type for self-sacrifice. Only �𝒂 truly believed in his hollow mask of loyalty. If �𝒂 left, his hidden malice would consume everything. Karen had to expose his true nature. That was Karen's real objective. He watched 𝒂𝒅 like a hawk, waiting for one single slip-up. Is he just trying to seduce the young lady? Karen's suspicion turned into a burning rage. If that bastard makes one wrong move, I'll cut him down, Karen vowed under his breath. Hours passed and �𝒂 grew restless. How much longer? Are we almost at the Count's border? Karen scanned the horizon. We've entered their lands. We'll arrive in about 12 hours. So close, �𝒂 mused. Yet our two territories have remained strangers for 20 long years. Karen explained 𝒂𝒂's history. They had completely isolated themselves from the world 2 decades ago. �𝒂 gasped in surprise. But why? Karen shook his head. The reason remains a total mystery. It's strange they'd suddenly propose marriage after 25 years, 𝒆𝒅 noted. His interest piqued. �𝒂 brushed it off. But tell me, why is their lord hailed as a saintly hero? Karen spoke of Vanbaka. A noble unlike any other, treated like a god by his people. Born into greatness, he could have lived in luxury. Instead, he chose a path of thorns. Seeing his people suffer, he abandoned his title. He traded high society for a life of service. He tore down his own castle and sold his jewels to feed the starving masses. He lowered taxes to nearly nothing and even tilled the fields with his own hands. The people were so moved, they crowned him their hero. �𝒂's perception began to shift. A noble living like that? She whispered. He must be a man of incredible conviction. Karen nodded. Thanks to him, 𝒊𝒏𝒄𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒂𝒓𝒅 is a paradise, a land without blood or crime. Suddenly, the carriage screeched to a halt. The driver's terrified scream pierced the air. Bandits! Shock hit the group. �𝒂 glared at Karen. I thought you said there was no crime here? Stay back, Karen growled, reaching for his sword. I'll handle these scum myself. Wait, another voice commanded. It was 𝒂𝒅. Stay inside, �𝒂. I will go instead. �𝒂 snapped. I'm not weak. I can fight. 𝒆𝒅 looked her dead in the eye. It's not about strength. It's about the soul. Have you ever actually taken a life? �𝒂 froze, her face turning pale. 𝒂𝒅 stepped out, his mind racing with dark possibilities. Are those Motorola bastards here too? 𝒂𝒅 drew his blade, ready for a bloodbath. But his eyes widened. Before him stood not warriors, but a hollowed, starving mob. Please, they begged, their voices trembling with despair. Just a little gold, or bread. 𝒂𝒅 froze in shock. Bandits? Karen barked. Back off. This carriage belongs to Lord 𝒕𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒂𝒓. They hesitated but didn't retreat. As Karen's blade hummed, 𝒂𝒅 intervened. Enough, Karen. Stand down. 𝒂𝒅 sighed. They aren't thieves. Just starving farmers begging for a single scrap of bread. Karen gasped. Aesir knew the truth. To these souls, a blade or hunger brought the same death. He tossed a heavy pouch. Eat and survive. The desperate crowd scrambled for the gold. They fled, weeping in gratitude. Karen stared. Your gold, Aesir? Aesir shrugged with indifference. It's fine. But look at their path. They're fleeing from the direction of 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒕. Impossible. Leica stepped down, sensing the tension. Aesir, Karen, what happened out here? Just starving refugees, Aesir replied. Leica's eyes widened. Refugees this far? In my father's land? First assassins, now this. The continent was descending into chaos right before her eyes. How could darkness taint this peaceful realm? Silence fell as dread filled their hearts. They arrived at 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒕's gate. As they stepped out, their jaws hit the floor. A colossal fortress loomed over them. Karen blinked. This is Lord Vanbaka's home? Wasn't he the humble lord who lived in simplicity? Then, a slick voice cut through. Welcome, Lady 𝒂𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒂𝒓𝒅. And her lowly staff, I presume? A man stepped forward. I am 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒂𝒓𝒅, your fiancé. Leica froze. This man was her promised husband? His eyes were hollow. As the carriage rolled on, Leica peered outside. The truth was horrifying. The village was a rotting slum. The once vibrant streets were now filled with despair. Is this really 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒂𝒓𝒅? Leica whispered. Boros smirked. Crime has polluted our air lately. Don't touch the filth, he warned. Karen and Leica shared a look of pure suspicion. They reached the palace. A feast was set, but the atmosphere felt like a trap. Outside, they starve. Inside, a sickening display of luxury. Leica's stomach churned at the excess. I can't eat this, Aesir muttered. This isn't the city I remember, Karen added. Boros entered. My father awaits you, Lady Leica. She stood, masking her trembling hands. Karen tried to interject, but Boros silenced him with a cold, piercing glare. Forget the past, knight. My father is no longer the man you once admired. He is a monster now. They entered. Lord Vanbaka sat there, drowning in wine. I am Vanbaka. He slammed his glass. A long trek from the hero's land. But a mere walk for such heroes, right? His mockery was thick and suffocating. Rude and vulgar. Aesir watched him. The humble legend had decayed into this wretch. He leered at Leica, licking his lips. Leica's skin crawled with a primal terror. Beautiful. Then he dropped the bomb. Leica was to sleep in his chambers tonight. In your room? Impossible. She gestured toward her guards, her heart racing in panic. Boros smiled thinly. It is an honor for my father to host a noble beauty. Leica was paralyzed. This wasn't hospitality. It was a trap set by two predators. Is she in place? Vanbaka grinned, clutching a terrified maid. Boros nodded silently. Remember my childhood lesson, son? Boros shivered. To marry the one I love? Yes. Since you found no one, the Lord sneered. I have made a new arrangement. Leica is too precious for a son. She will be my newest concubine instead. Boros stood frozen. Your concubine? Father, what are you saying? She is my fiancée. I'm taking her. Night fell like a heavy, suffocating shroud over the corrupted palace. Karen mourned the fallen lord. Aesir remembered the man Vanbaka used to be. A humble legend, now a glutton. 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒂𝒓𝒅, once a jewel, was now being devoured. A king turned beast, obsessed with lust. The golden age had turned to bitter ash. The people bled under his greed. Every breath was stolen. The nightmare had only begun. Is this truly the 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒂𝒓𝒅 I knew? A knock interrupts his deep thoughts. Forgive me, Lords Aesir and Karen. I have news. Their faces pale in shock. Karen slams the table in rage. Vanbaka wants Lady Leica? Boros nods grimly. The engagement is dead. My father takes her instead. Karen's fury boils over. I will save Lady Leica, Karen shouts. I won't let him use her. Aesir calls out, but Boros stops him. Let him go. He is loyal. No one deserves a political cage. You feel it too, don't you, Sir Karen? With your talent, you must only seek the peak of the sword. Am I right? Aesir is stunned. How do you know? Boros smiles. I have a shadow network. My father isolated this land, but I built a secret organization to find truth. Lord Aelak didn't sell her. Our hero bloodline made the request an absolute command. Though our heroism is dead, he couldn't refuse. My father forced this cruel game. I was told to lure her to his room. I left her outside instead. Use the secret exit at dawn. Take her away. I will face my father. Acer is baffled. Lord Boros, tell me. What happened to him 20 years ago? Boros sighs. He changed completely. 2 decades of cruelty and crushing taxes began. He stole every harvest to build a palace while his people rotted in misery. Streets are lined with corpses. Yet he just drinks and revels with women inside. He was once a living saint, Acer notes. Boros lets out a hollow laugh. A saint? He once told me to marry for love. 5 years later, I brought a commoner girl home. She was my soul. She truly loved me. The next day, he killed her. He claimed she was greedy for our wealth. His veins bulge. Does a saint kill? Acer speaks. I will help you rule. Boros is shocked. What? But before he can blink, Acer has already vanished. Inside, 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂 Who are you? He picks up a bottle of aged wine. Bao year 43. You never drank this, 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒂, especially not the expensive ones. He always refused it. The man snarls. Do you know who I am, brat? 𝒆𝒅's voice turns cold. Recite the 𝒂𝒂𝒂 clan oath. The man stands frozen. He knows nothing. You aren't 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒂. 𝒆𝒅 draws his blade without hesitation. Blood paints the room red. Laika cries out. Karen, where are we going? We must flee, Karen shouts. That greedy lord is a predator seeking you. Laika trembles in shock. What? Karen shoves her into a waiting carriage. Where is 𝒆𝒅? Suddenly, alarms blare. An intruder. The lord is under attack. Laika is terrified. Even Karen is stunned. Boros demands answers from the guards. A scream echoed from the chambers. Boros charges inside, heart pounding in dread. The scene is horrific. 𝒆𝒅 stands over a bleeding 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒂. What happened? Father, Boros cries. 𝒆𝒅 blocks him. This is not your father, Boros. It is a parasite, a demon wearing his skin. The soldiers stand frozen. A demon? Boros growls. A doppelganger? You think I am a fool, 𝒆𝒅? Doppelgangers erase memories. But my father still knows everything. You are wrong. He remembers our past. Only his heart grew dark over the long years. He might be a monster, but he is still my blood. My father! Who gave you the right? Boros screams. 𝒆𝒅 is left speechless and shaken. Kill him, Boros orders his men. A deafening explosion shatters the tense silence. The soldiers tremble in fear. Even Boros shudders as the corpse of 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒂 suddenly speaks. Disguise shattered. His face contorts into a hideous mask. The monster finally reveals its true, wretched form. Boros stands frozen. A doppelganger? He can't believe it. The creature sneers at the pathetic humans before him. Karen rushes toward the scene. What did 𝒆𝒅 do? Before he can think, soldiers are sent flying like dolls. A demon stands where the Lord once was. It mocks Boros. What will you do now, sweet boy? You murdered my father. The beast laughs. It enjoyed slaughtering his father and playing with his fragile fiancée. Karen arrives just in time. Run, Lord Boros, he screams. Boros looks at him, eyes wide with terror. Karen curses the beast and swings his blade. The monster catches the cold steel with its bare hands. A flurry of 10 strikes hits nothing. Impressive skill, human, the demon mocks, but still far from enough. The sword shatters. Karen is sent crashing back. I have no more time for games, the beast growls. It turns its predatory gaze toward 𝒆𝒅. How did you find me? 𝒆𝒅 mentions the sacred oath of 𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒂. The real lord lived for his people. That oath was his soul. A fake could never understand that heart. The monster cackles. It thought the disguise was perfect. It had memorized every word of the Lord's diary. It studied for 20 years to avoid being caught again. It wanted to be a perfect shadow of man. It grips 𝒆𝒅's head. Its kin were hunted for centuries. For 2 decades, no one knew its true face. Then a mere brat like you ruins everything. Before you die, tell me, who are you, boy? Royal Holy Swordsman, 𝒆𝒅 replies. The beast freezes. I thought your kind was wiped from this continent. I thought I killed every last one of you. The demon loses its composure. Pure rage radiates from it. It screams in denial. 𝒆𝒅 draws his sword with icy calm. It has been a long time, doppelganger. The final duel begins. 𝒂𝒅 focuses entirely on his target. After the chaos, he returns to the ruined palace. Everything is in shambles. Boros lies unconscious on the cold floor. 𝒂𝒅 rushes to his side, calling out, "Lord Boros, wake up!" Boros groans in agony, clutching his wounds. The monster. "Is it over?" he whispers. The doppelganger is dead. 𝒂𝒅's blade is buried deep in its throat. He helps Boros stand, shoulder to shoulder. "I was lucky," 𝒂𝒅 says quietly. The beast was seeking bloody revenge for its fallen race from the past. Laika's voice echoes from the distance. She finds them amidst the carnage. Karen is badly hurt and needs help. Guards flood the courtyard. Boros tells them to prioritize the wounded. "I need to speak with 𝒂𝒅," he commands. 𝒂𝒅 checks on the fallen knight. The next morning, he visits the grave of Boros's father with flowers. 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒄𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒕 approaches slowly. They manage to recover his father's body for a proper, dignified burial at last. "We had to piece him back together," Boros says hoarsely. He struggles to find the words of gratitude. 𝒂𝒅 offers his condolences. Boros admits his shame. He was blinded and let a demon ruin his family. "I shook hands with a devil," he confesses. "Thank you for saving this land, 𝒂𝒅. Truly, thank you." 𝒂𝒅 accepts the thanks. "What happens to Belaturia now?" he asks as they walk through the palace gardens. "I will rebuild," Boros vows. "I must fix what the demon destroyed, though I am not my father." 𝒂𝒅 listens in silence. He remembers the old lord, a man who walked among his people with pride. In the past, the village was vibrant and full of life. Everyone had a place and a smile. "I have no real power," Boros sighs. "Only a title. But this land exists because of its people. I will not rule them. I will serve them. That is the true responsibility of a noble heart." Those words were a daily prayer, a silent oath kept within his soul, the true legacy of Belaturia. Boros looks at 𝒂𝒅 intensely. "You used that secret oath to expose the demon's only weakness," he notes. "But only my family knows that vow." He wonders how a stranger like 𝒂𝒅 could know such secrets. "How do you know so much about demons?" 𝒂𝒅 just smiles vaguely. His existence is a mystery to all. Back at the estate, Laika screams in shock after hearing Karen's report. "A real demon was among us?" Karen explains the nature of the doppelganger. "It stole the Lord's life and lived in his skin. So the hero never betrayed us?" Laika feels a weight lift. "The corruption was all a lie. The forced marriage is officially cancelled," Karen confirms. "The nightmare is finally over for the young lady." "Is that so?" she whispered. "Lord Boros declared the demon's schemes void without his consent. I'm leaving soon," she added. Outside, Boros approached 𝒂𝒅, the legendary Sword Saint's elite disciple. "It's clear now," Boros noted. Van Ba was his father's ally. Trust was finally earned. 𝒂𝒅 recalled tales of the Lord's glory. Suddenly, Boros knelt, offering a debt of profound gratitude. "You saved Belaturia." 𝒂𝒅 stood frozen. A high noble bowing to a commoner? Simply unheard of. "I thank you from my soul. Ask for any reward, and as leader, I shall grant it." 𝒂𝒅 smiled. "Your humility proves your greatness." Meanwhile, dark news reached the 𝒁𝒏𝒄𝒂𝒓 estate. The Belaturia lord was a doppelganger. 𝒁𝒏𝒄𝒂𝒓 realized this was part of Haiban's grand design. 𝒁𝒏𝒄𝒂𝒓 brooded. A crisis was igniting across the continent, just as the ancient prophecies foretold. First Molia, now demons. The nightmare was only beginning, and they couldn't afford any weakness. 𝒂𝒅 is a true hero, 𝒁𝒏𝒄𝒂𝒓 admitted. "He has saved us more times than I count. The time for suspicion is over. We no longer need to keep our guard up against him." Outside, 𝒂𝒅 smirked. "Finally, they trust me." He paced the halls, his mind racing with secrets. Amnesia and a new body overnight? Destiny was playing a dangerous game with his soul. Doppelgangers are demonic filth, he warned himself. "I must remain sharp and never falter. I have no interest in your family's petty games. I have a divine mission to complete." Suddenly, a loud voice cut through. A mysterious man approached with a cocky, sharp grin. "You look like a brat," Cairo mocked. "The Sword Saint's pupil? I'm the intel captain here." Cairo's eyes gleamed. "Your energy is terrifying. That one-shot kill on the demon, truly god tier." 𝒂𝒅 narrowed his eyes. "I didn't know I was being watched." Cairo laughed, vanishing into shadows. "An intel captain must be a ghost," Cairo joked. That demon knew your secrets, didn't he? 𝒂𝒅 stiffened. Cairo was dangerous. What does a hunter want with my secret intelligence network? Looking for a lost dog? Cairo teased. 𝒂𝒅's voice turned cold. I'm hunting the missing heroes. Cairo's smile vanished. 𝒂𝒅 explained the legends had either disappeared or been corrupted by darkness. Haiban and Vanba vanished for 20 years. Demons are stealing the identities of our elite. The continent is falling. The demons have returned, and the remaining heroes are being hunted down. I must find the survivors, especially the one who once forced the Demon King into exile. We are searching for Valoran. Cairo scratched his head, sensing the weight of this epic quest. You sure pick the hardest missions. Cairo sighed. 𝒂𝒅 challenged him. Is it too difficult? Cairo barked a laugh. Impossible? My network finds everything. Consider the hunt officially started. We'll find your legends immediately. 𝒂𝒅 watched him leave, acknowledging the man's terrifying efficiency. Later, Cairo grumbled. His pride had forced him into a mission that could shake the world. I'll start at the capital, he decided, staring at the horizon. He watched 𝒂𝒅 from afar. Arrogant kid. But he's got guts. Hunting heroes? This is going to be legendary. Cairo vanished into the night. He'll be a monster in the future. A god among men. Elsewhere, merchant caravans moved. Rumors of Belaturia's gates reopening spread like a wildfire. Closed for decades. And now it's open? A merchant asked, taking a deep, thirsty gulp. They say a demon held it hostage. An old man on the carriage snorted in disbelief. Demons, fairy tales, the old man barked. Those monsters were purged over 50 years ago. The merchants leaned in, eyes wide with curiosity. Then tell us, old-timer, what were they like? Sealed for decades? He chuckles, taking a drink. For us merchants, new territory is a gold mine. More lands mean more profit. His companion wonders why the gates remained shut for so many years. Rumors say a demon lurks there. An elder shouts. A demon? Be serious. That is impossible. Those monsters were purged 50 years ago. Dao Dak asks if the elder saw the carnage himself. The group leans in, curious. What did a demon look like? None here have seen one alive. Stroking his beard, the elder spoke. Hideous, monstrous creatures, he recalled. Back then, blood stained every path. I nearly perished fleeing with my mother. He remembered her trembling embrace. The demons were engines of pure destruction. They razed everything with cruel weapons. But then, the legendary heroes appeared. They were our only salvation. I still see their faces vividly. True masters of the blade, he smiled. Their greatness was etched into history. Young people must respect those legends. Without them, peace would be a dream. The world owes them its very existence. But these rumors of their return. The elder hesitated as twilight fell. Suddenly, an eerie sight greeted them. Chaos had struck the quiet estate. Threats to humanity are rising again. Father, a new era of blood is coming. Another clash is about to begin. 𝒂𝒅 saw Laika training intensely. Are you pushing yourself again? He asked. Everyone is paralyzed by fear, she replied. I cannot stand still while demons lurk. I've only seen such horrors in books. The rumors were no longer just whispers. This era had forgotten how to fight. Looks like I've got work to do. Suddenly, a desperate scream pierced the air. They raced toward the estate gates. What happened? The knight demanded. A villager stumbled forward, clutching his shoulder. Blood soaked through his tattered clothes. Laika rushed to his side in shock. Report. What occurred in the woods? A survivor has returned, the knight shouted. The man groaned in agonizing pain. Please, you must help us. Monsters ambushed our caravan in the forest. Laika's eyes widened in disbelief. Demons? Here? She gasped. They tore our wagons to splinters, he cried. It was a scene from a nightmare. Merchants were slaughtered where they stood. 𝒂𝒅 and Laika didn't hesitate. They sped toward the scene of the massacre. The site was a graveyard of broken dreams. What kind of hell is this? Laika whispered. Bandits! Spread out and search, the knights yelled. Secure the perimeter and save the survivors. 𝒂𝒅 scanned the carnage with cold eyes. This wasn't the work of mere thieves. He tracked the footprints in crude iron. Bandits don't leave marks like these. Laika knelt beside a wounded elder. Sir, please stay with us. They have returned, the man wheezed. Healer! We need a healer here, now. It was goblins? The green devils? The knights looked at each other, confused. Goblins? What kind of creature is that? Exactly as I suspected, 𝒂𝒅 muttered. These are monsters from a different realm, hostile races that thrive on violence. They are aggressive predators of humanity, not as high tier as demons, but deadly. Yet, they were supposed to be extinct. How did these shadows return after 50 years? That night, the estate became a sanctuary. Questions lingered in the heavy silence. The merchants were treated under heavy guard. I am a simple trader, the elder explained. We were hauling goods from a nearby estate. Then, the goblins lunged from the shadows. They took everything, and left only death. Laika listened, her heart heavy with dread. Describe these creatures to me, she urged. Small, green-skinned, with pointed ears, he said. But there was something more. 𝒂𝒅 stepped into the flickering firelight. Remnants of the golden age of monsters. Creatures that once ruled through terror. They vanished 50 years ago with the demons. Laika turned to 𝒂𝒅 in pure surprise. How do you know so much about them? I've spent my time buried in history. The elder looked at him with curiosity. Why now? Why after the war ended? After 50 years of absolute silence? Why have the forbidden gates opened? 𝒂𝒅 recalled the ancient texts of war. The heroes had supposedly purged the world. Every threat to humanity was systematically erased. The dimensional rift was sealed forever. The last of the dragons were slain. Monsters were driven into the dark wastes. Humanity was supposed to be safe. Ravina, the legendary queen of the north. She ruled the frozen lands with iron grace, keeping the monstrous hordes in check. Under her reign, the creatures were tamed. They lived in a forced, fragile harmony. But that order has been shattered. Ravina has vanished. 𝒂𝒅 revealed calmly. The north has descended into absolute chaos. The balance of power is gone. If you know them, how do we kill them? The elder sighed, his voice trembling. I was just a child back then. Only the adults fought those battles. That knowledge died with the previous generation. No one left knows how to kill them. Laika stood frozen, her mind racing. Morning brought no peace to the town. Rumors of the monster slayer spread fast. Has the Lord been briefed on this? Yes, but the news is grim, Laika said. The vassals are grasping at shadows. None of them have encountered goblins before. The meeting of lords was a disaster. No records exist in our archives. Those who fought them are dead or missing. Knowledge of combat has been completely erased. It's like history was wiped clean. 𝒂𝒅 watched the panic from the shadows. Goblins are just low-tier trash, he thought. But in packs, they are a nightmare. In this soft era, they are gods of death. People here are completely defenseless. Fear hung over the city like a shroud. The atmosphere is suffocating, Laika noted. 𝒂𝒅 adjusted his grip, eyes cold. It's time to show them how it's done. Clearing every obstacle in his path, he moved with lethal grace while her eyes shimmered with absolute trust. Time to hunt those goblins, he declared. Laika smirked. I knew you couldn't just sit still, hero. This mission is suicide, he whispered, worried. If the Lord finds out, his fury will be legendary. She stood firm. If he discovers us, let it be a lesson. Besides, the main gate is suicide. Sentries are everywhere tonight. We'll take the secret tunnel, a hidden path only I know, she whispered. She revealed the narrow passage. He stared in disbelief before they both vanished into the dark crawlspace. Any idea where these pests are hiding? She asked. He pointed toward the decimated caravan wreckage. We track their prints straight to the source. Follow me and don't fall behind, he commanded. Racing through the woods, her resolve hardened. Filthy scavengers. This time, not a single one escapes. High in the canopy, monsters sneered. Brave humans. Laika's lungs burned, her pace finally beginning to falter. Can we slow down? She panted. Almost there, he encouraged, hearing her ragged, desperate gasps for air. Goblins crave filth and moisture. Their nest is near the swamp. She gasped. How do you know? His SSS rank senses flared at a faint sound. Quiet your breathing. The goblin sentries are right ahead. Seeing the green-skinned monsters for the first time, Laika froze. Are those? Them? He calmed her instantly. First, we clear the trash. Suddenly, a terrifying golden aura erupted from his body, shaking the air. He blurred into motion. Before the guards could blink, they were silenced, dying before hitting the ground. The strike was deep, but it still draws breath. He turned. Lady Leica, finish what I started. What? She gasped. This is your baptism. You must learn the cold weight of taking a life. Her blade trembled. Looking into the monster's eyes, her heart raced, her courage failing at the brink. With a scream, she plunged the steel down. Deep inside, the pack gathered to feast on stolen meat. They watched the chaos from the shadows. Mindless, unskilled, but deadly when they swarm like locusts. They're weaker than expected, Leica noted, her eyes cold. We cannot allow such filth near our borders. He studied her reaction. She wasn't traumatized, she was evolving. This girl had the soul of a warrior. Impressive resolve, she said, then looked at the fortress. So, do we just charge in and slaughter? Wait, 𝒂𝒅 signaled as she reached for her hilt. Patience is the ultimate weapon of a hunter. They're entering their sleep cycle. Goblins sleep deep and fast, the perfect window for a silent massacre. I'll exploit their blind spots. Leica stared, mesmerized. Asterisk. How does he know their every weakness? Asterisk. Asterisk. He fights like a seasoned veteran. Asterisk. Under the pale moon, 𝒂𝒅 became a shadow, hunting the gate guards. He stood over the sleeping horde. They sleep like babes, he mocked, looking at the tangled, stupid creatures. He raised his blade high. Call it mercy or cruelty, but you are a threat I must erase. Blood sprayed across his face as the first tent went silent. 2 more to go. Pure efficiency. He stumbled upon a wooden cabin. Human architecture? Does their leader possess higher intelligence? He wondered. These weren't supposed to be builders. Goblins are bottom-tier trash driven by nothing but primitive, base instincts. I should burn this first. He dismissed it as an abandoned human shack, stepping toward the door. Suddenly, his foot snagged a wire. Asterisk. A tripwire? Asterisk. Massive wooden spikes plummeted from the darkness above. Goblins? Setting traps? He barely dodged. Outside, Leica paced, her anxiety reaching a fever pitch. He's late. She gripped her sword. I should have gone with him. I'm useless, just waiting. A twig snapped. 3 goblins emerged from the fog, clutching jagged blades and leering at her hungrily. Stay calm, Leica. Just 3 small fries. I can win this. Time to show my training. She drew her sword, but a booming voice stopped her cold. Back away. This human is mine. Her heart stopped. A massive goblin loomed over her. It spoke? This can't be happening. The giant, boasting a chillingly human face, stepped into the light. Step forward, little human. Face me. I am the great chieftain, and unlike my kin, I am a master of the martial arts. Asterisk? A martial artist goblin? Asterisk. Leica's grip tightened. This wasn't a monster, it was an elite, intelligent warrior. The leader laughed, a terrifying sound. Martial arts transcend race. Now, let me show you true despair. You insects! The creature spun its spear, aiming the lethal tip right at her throat. You're still pathetic, the monster spat. Leica charged, but a fatal opening appeared in her guard. Blood sprayed from her arm. She'd underestimated their cunning. These weren't just mindless beasts. The horde swelled, surrounding them completely. 𝒂𝒅 knew he had to unleash his true awakening now. He tore through them like a god of war. But the vermin just kept coming. Leica's strength was fading fast. Against the goblin leader, she was hopelessly outmatched. Impressive for a human. She gritted her teeth. A monster. Dared to judge her? She swung with desperate fury, yet he parried every strike. How could a monster block her? Too much wasted effort, he sneered. Leica froze. This monster possessed high-level swordsmanship. The leader provokes her further. Is that all? Show me the true skills of your race. Pushing through the pain, she steadied her blade. Fine. I'll show you real mastery. Ravina strike. She lunged with everything, but the monster remained terrifyingly calm. Nothing but a fake. With a sickening crack, her blade and her pride shattered instantly. A devastating palm strike sent her crashing down. It was a total, crushing defeat. Nearby, 𝒂𝒅 finished his own slaughter. He hadn't expected such strategic movements from them. Poisoned blades. He collapsed, his blood turning to ice. Death was reaching for him. Leica lay broken. Your armor saved your life, the leader mocked, standing over her. Now, die with a warrior's honor. He raised his spear for the final execution. She closed her eyes as the spear descended. Suddenly, clang! A shockwave shook the earth. 𝒂𝒅 stood there, defiant. "Sorry I'm late," he whispered. Leica couldn't believe her eyes. The leader recoiled in shock. "Still alive? How can a human survive that toxin?" 𝒂𝒅 smirked. "I've learned your filthy habits. You use poison, so I use the antidote. Survival is the first rule of the hunt." The goblin leader let out a dark laugh. A clever human indeed. 𝒂𝒅 gently moved the wounded Leica to safety. "Rest now. I'll handle this monster." Leica could only watch, praying for his safety. "I am 𝒂𝒐𝒏𝒈𝒄𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒂𝒓𝒄𝒂𝒓, Leader of goblins. A martial artist seeking the peak of strength. A monster with human intelligence and ambition." 𝒂𝒅's blood boiled with excitement. "You interrupted a fair duel. Now, you shall pay the price in blood." The air grew heavy as they clashed. Spear against spear, a symphony of destruction began. These weren't wild swings. Every move was calculated, refined, and incredibly lethal. Years of brutal training echoed in every strike. 𝒂𝒅 had finally found a worthy rival. 𝒂𝒅's eyes flashed with power. With one heavy strike, he forced 𝒂𝒐𝒏𝒈𝒄𝒂𝒓𝒏𝒂𝒂𝒓 gasped. 𝒂𝒂𝒏 gasped, bracing himself. "That technique. It's the perfection I've always dreamed of. Two strong humans in one day? Truly, the heavens are smiling upon me. Show me your full power." 𝒂𝒂𝒏 roared, and the real battle reached its climax. Leica watched in awe. The goblin's movements were simple, yet terrifyingly perfect. "He fights. Just like 𝒂𝒅," she whispered, right before darkness finally claimed her. "Fainted? How boring." 𝒂𝒅 stood tall. "I don't have time for games anymore." 𝒂𝒂𝒏 grinned, but a blinding, holy inferno suddenly erupted behind him. "You burned our village?" 𝒂𝒂𝒏's voice trembled with pure, unadulterated rage. "I did what was necessary." 𝒂𝒂𝒏 realized he couldn't let his tribe perish in flames. "This isn't over, human. We will meet again very soon." He vanished into the smoke. Leica was out cold. She had held her own against a legendary threat. 𝒂𝒅 hoisted her onto his back. They had to warn the capital immediately. At the castle, Lord Charon stood guard. Then, 𝒂𝒅 finally appeared at the gates. Lord Charon's heart sank, seeing Lady Leica collapsed, her back shredded with wounds. "Quickly, move her inside," he roared. They rushed her in on a makeshift shield. "Bastard! What did you do to her?" Reborock's rage flared. "No time for talk," 𝒂𝒅 replied coldly, slamming a heavy sack onto the blood-stained dirt. The soldiers gasped. Severed goblin heads rolled across the floor. Terror gripped the men. How could this monster be here? "A goblin?" Charon screamed. 𝒂𝒅's eyes remained sharp. "Is this your first time seeing the face of death?" The panic was palpable. "These creatures are preparing a full-scale invasion of this territory," 𝒂𝒅 declared. "An invasion?" Reborock froze. "The horde is coming," 𝒂𝒅 warned. "We must prepare for war immediately." Dawn broke. Leica opened her eyes after a death-like slumber. Her parents were watching over her anxiously. "You're awake. How do you feel?" "I'm all right, mother," Leica whispered with a reassuring, pale smile. Reborock's voice was like grinding stone. "𝒂𝒅 dragged you into that hell, didn't he?" His anger was rising. "How dare that boy risk our daughter's life?" the Lord hissed, his mana flickering with pure rage. "It wasn't his fault, father," Leica protested. "I forced him to take me. I chose this path. He warned me of the danger, but I needed to grow. I've gained the spirit of a true warrior. He saved me from the brink, father. He is fighting for our survival, and for this land." Reborock's trembling fist finally relaxed. The weight of her words sank in. Relief replaced his fury. While the territory lived in fear, 𝒂𝒅 had walked alone into the lion's den to face the shadows. He brought back a trophy of victory. He's not just a boy. He's a hero, the Lord realized. The goblin heads were spiked as a grim warning. Training intensified. The air tasted of iron and sweat. Lord Reborock approached the training grounds. "𝒂𝒅, tell me honestly, do my men stand a chance in battle?" "They have heart, but lack experience," 𝒂𝒅 noted. "Yet, victory is within reach. Thank you for your trust." The Lord bowed deeply. "I thank you from the bottom of my soul as the master of 𝒂𝒑." 𝒂𝒅 was taken aback. He had finally earned the Lord's absolute loyalty. "You overpraise me, my lord." Reborock looked at Leica. She should be resting, yet she pushes herself so hard. Why choose such struggle? Leica noticed them and waved. "Father, look, I'm perfectly fine. This training is nothing to me now." Her eyes burned with new determination. I will become stronger. I'll never be a burden again, she cheered. 𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒂𝒓 sighed. Don't compare me to Urukka, Laika scoffed. That coward only hides in his room like a ghost. I'll fight for both of us. 𝒆𝒅 watched silently, remembering the boy's shattered eyes. Trauma is heavy. Urukka was broken, but 𝒆𝒅 knew he had to wake the sleeping lion within him very soon. 𝒆𝒅, your arm, Laika's mother cried. It's nothing, he replied. Just a bit of goblin venom. Venom? Laika calmed her. He neutralized it instantly. Mother. He was prepared for everything beforehand. 𝒆𝒅 turned to the Lord. They coat their blades in death. We need specialized antidotes for every soldier. 𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒂𝒓 nodded firmly. I'll spread the word. We won't let their poison touch our souls. With medicine and steel, they had hope. But 𝒆𝒅 knew the true nightmare was still lurking nearby. The Goblin King. A monster with the intellect and martial prowess of a human grandmaster. A terrifying foe. Deep within the stinking caves, the horde stirred. The weak had evolved. Takan sat upon his throne, once a lowly creature. He hungered for supreme power. He would transcend his pathetic, born limits. He saw a god in the water's reflection. Intelligence and strength beyond any goblin in history. Takan crushed his cup, his eyes glowing with malice. The age of humans is over. This land is ours. A cursed existence, he growled. Why must I suffer this brilliance just to remain a puppet? Despite the agony, he possessed the power to slaughter. A puppet who would pull the world's strings. He remembered the human who stood his ground. A world of lies and danger awaited him outside. Takan slammed his staff down. Gather, my kin. Today, we feast on the flesh of the weak. The green tide surged forward, banners of war fluttering. The invasion had finally begun toward the gates. They're here, the sentries screamed. Darkness flooded the horizon as the horde reached the massive walls. Karen drew his blade, his voice booming. Protect our home. Let not a single monster breathe. Kill them all. Vicious goblin hordes scale the ramparts, plunging the fortress into a chaotic, blood-soaked massacre. Lord Ryok charges into the fray, commanding his men to repel the tide and protect their land. Locked away in terror, Luke shudders until a voice cuts through. Get up and face reality. The city is drowning in blood, 𝒆𝒅 growls. Luke cowers, claiming he is too weak to fight. I am just a puppet heir. A useless shadow, he sobs. His pride is utterly destroyed. You must become strong, Luke. 𝒆𝒅 throws a blade down. Pick it up or die a coward. Will you watch your people burn while you hide? Is this how a lord should act? You are the future of this land. Fulfill your destiny. 𝒆𝒅 turns his back in disgust. Staring at the steel, Luke's fear turns to resolve. Damn it! He grips the hilt tightly. Luke storms out as Sir Karen battles the endless green tide with every ounce of strength. The monsters are relentless, but Laika's blade flashes through the air, providing much-needed backup. Lady Laika, are you hurt? I am fine, she pants. Karen, what is the situation? We hold the advantage for now. They have numbers, but no discipline or coordination. Victory is within reach, Karen claims. But Laika feels a dark, suffocating pressure approaching. Tarek, the Goblin King, arrives at the gates. Well done, brothers. Now, witness my power. Is it over already? Tarek sneers at the soldiers. You filthy humans are just prey. Karen and Laika watch in horror. Stay focused. This victory was nothing but a trap. The soldiers cheer, unaware that death stands right behind them. Tarek strikes like a lightning bolt. You are far too arrogant, he mocks. A single swing silences the celebrating soldiers forever. Karen gasps. That monster is a goblin? The legendary goblin leader has finally appeared. He stands alone against an army, fearless. Karen bellows a desperate order to attack. Stop! Laika screams, sensing his overwhelming aura. That creature is on a divine level. Tarek blasts the soldiers away with ease. I have no time to play with fakes. Tarek eyes Laika. We met in the woods, didn't we? And who is this weakling? I do not care for trash. Hand over the one I seek. Karen stands confused. Laika realizes the truth. He wants the real master. Bring the mortal 𝒆𝒅 to me. You will never have him, Karen spits. I will cut you down where you stand. Laika pleads with Karen to retreat, but the knight's pride refuses to yield to a monster. It is just a goblin, he scoffs. No beast can survive the Empire's finest swordsmanship. Good luck then. The monster smiles. Let the slaughter begin. Karen lunges with fury. "I will take your head," Karen roars. 𝒕💏 merely yawns, mocking the knight's best effort. Laika's heart sinks. Karen is a legendary master, one of the Empire's strongest warriors. Yet, against this monster, he looks like a helpless child with no combat experience. 𝒕💏 parries every strike effortlessly. "You have the spirit," he mocks, "but no true power." With a single shockwave, Karen is sent flying. Impossible. His legendary defense is shattered. 𝒕💏's spear pierces through the knight's gut. Laika screams in absolute horror and despair. "You are just another fake," 𝒕💏 growls, "relying on useless tricks. Now, die." Laika rushes to intervene, screaming Karen's name. Suddenly, a familiar shadow looms behind 𝒕💏. "There you are," 𝒕💏 laughs. "I have waited so long for you, mortal. I am not finished with you," 𝒆𝒅 replies. 𝒕💏 mocks the weakness of human blades. "You are the only one worth killing, 𝒆𝒅." 𝒕💏 lunges with a blindingly fast thrust. 𝒆𝒅 blocks with perfect precision. "Yes," 𝒕💏 cheers. "This is the true skill I seek." A legendary duel begins. Laika reaches the fallen commander, her hands trembling with fear. "It is just a scratch," Karen wheezes. Suddenly, Luke arrives, his eyes burning with resolve. "Are you both all right?" Luke asks, standing tall as a leader for the first time. "Stay back, my lord." 𝒆𝒅 stood firm. "I am the heir. I lead from the front. I will fight beside my people." Laika smiled. Her brother had finally awakened his true spirit. She watched with bated breath. 𝒆𝒅 clashing with the goblin chieftain. The entire army held its breath. The beast laughed maniacally. Exhilarating. A battle without any lies. 𝒆𝒅's gaze turned cold. "Explain yourself, monster," the goblin sneered. "Human swordsmanship is nothing but a fraud. You worship heroes without real strength. Their skills are mere parlor tricks." 𝒆𝒅 bristled. "A fraud? You call legends fake?" He leveled his spear. The air grew heavy with killing intent. "But you possess the true essence. The only human worthy of my blade." 𝒆𝒅 struck, his mind racing. "Are the heroes' legends false? No, that is impossible." He caught the spear barehanded. "Clever beast. But do not insult the human heart. Swordsmanship is how we shatter our limits. It is the power that saved this world. The heights those heroes reached are beyond you. No monster can ever touch that peak." 𝒆𝒅 gritted his teeth. He died just as he touched that realm. A legendary master reborn. "I am just a man with a sword, a practitioner of the royal arts. To a savage like you, it looks divine. But you know nothing of true human potential." With a blinding flash of steel, 𝒆𝒅 lunged forward with god-tier speed. One fatal strike pierced the heart. "You are still too weak, monster." The chieftain collapsed, blood pooling. Defeated. The battlefield erupted in thunderous cheers. "Is he dead?" "No." The goblin crawled up for one last stand. "Move again and you die. You'll rot in a cell for your crimes. You win, human. Do your worst." 𝒆𝒅's voice was low. "Why did you invade?" "Orders from above," the beast wheezed. "The High Demon, he commanded us." Memories of the Great War resurfaced. The shadow of the Demon King was returning. This was just the beginning. He will surely be resurrected soon. I am but a puppet of destiny. A smart goblin is still just a monster. I fought every race to transcend my blood, to prove I could be more than trash. But we are the bottom of the chain. I could never break my racial limits. Then HE appeared. A high demon. He gave me wisdom and a perfect body. In exchange, I had to slaughter your kind. Now, I will see your human cage. 𝒆𝒅 nodded solemnly. "So be it. Take him away." The soldiers roared in triumph. Victory for mankind. Long live the heir. But the goblin looked strangely at peace. 𝒆𝒅 felt a chill down his spine. The danger had passed. But this is only the prologue of a catastrophe. The fortress walls were reinforced. Inside the castle, a temporary peace returned. The Lord bowed in deep gratitude. 𝒆𝒅, you saved us from extinction. I only did my duty, Lord. But the Lord knew his true worth. The young soldier helped rebuild the walls. Meanwhile, Karen monitored the prisoner closely. "We must send him to the capital." A message arrived from the Empire. "The king has felt the demonic aura. An envoy is arriving to investigate the threat." A magnificent royal carriage approached. A noble presence filled the entire territory. 𝒂𝒅 continued his grueling training. Leica approached him. Teach me the royal way. I used to hate the sword, but yours is different. 𝒂𝒅 looked at her. You'll be disappointed. It's just basics. In his past life, many ask this. I only teach the boring, repetitive truth. Most lacked the heart to endure it, except for one stubborn brat. Leica snapped him back. Hey, are you listening? Hear the news. The kingdom's envoy is arriving. Leica chirps as I hone my blade. The royal captain is a dark elf? My heart stops. It can't be. Not her. The Lord welcomes the royal carriage. Welcome to Man Manor, Captain Arena Vasilis. An honor. Arena Vasilis. That name triggers a violent storm of memories from my bloody past life. I recall the brutal war against the Dark Elves, a cycle of slaughter and endless screams. Amidst the ruins, a child's sob echoed. I followed the sound through the thick smoke. A lone Dark Elf girl stood trembling. She was lost, her family consumed by the war. Her mother had shielded her until the end. A tragic fate for such an innocent soul. Pity stirred within me. Come with me, I said, reaching out to the lonely child. Arena Vasilis, she whispered. Now, she stands before me as a high-ranking imperial officer, Hanhern. She greets us. I'm introduced as 𝒂𝒅, the swordsman who decimated the goblins. Arena eyes me with sharp curiosity. Sir 𝒂𝒅, it is a true pleasure to meet you. We sit to discuss the crisis. The Lord asks me to brief her on everything. Understood, I reply. But my soul is shaken. Facing the girl I raised is surreal. Arena was the sole survivor of a race that nearly plunged the world into eternal darkness. Her kin sought global annihilation, using forbidden arts to summon horrors from the void dimension. But their own madness consumed them. The Dark Elves were nearly wiped out by their creations. I was the hero who stopped them, burning their cursed forests to purge the corruption. That's when I found the orphan Arena. I took her in despite our blood-stained history. We were strangers bound by tragedy. I never sought her love. I was her family's destroyer. I assumed she hated me. So why did she follow my path to become a captain? Sir 𝒂𝒅, Arena interrupts my thoughts. I am here as Haiban's representative for this mission. I see. Let's get to the point, I respond, masking my turmoil with cold discipline. Her gaze hardens. The Empire doesn't trust you. Your information is classified as top secret. Even as Haiban's disciple, we cannot hand over Imperial secrets without a trial of strength. It makes sense. A random youth appearing with God-tier knowledge? They suspect a hidden motive. Haiban trusts your blade above all, she continues. Show us your swordsmanship. That is our demand. The Empire wants proof. Does she recognize my style? She watched me train for years. She recalls Haiban's cryptic words. That boy. His aura is the mirror image of your father. His stance, his voice, his very spirit. It's exactly like him, Haiban had insisted. She hadn't believed it. Her father was dead. No one could replicate his legendary divine skill. I shall begin then, I announce, drawing my steel. The air trembles with mounting pressure. As I swing, the ghost of her father flickers in my steel. Arena's heart stops cold. Father? She gasps. Suddenly, Leica's joyous scream echoes throughout the entire stone castle. Leica holds the official letter. She's accepted. The royal captain herself brought the prestigious invitation. Thank you, father, she beams. The Lord laughs, proud of his daughter's rising destiny. The academy will forge your potential. We depart for the imperial capital very soon. Prepare. For Leica, this is the ultimate dream. The Royal Academy, the cradle of legendary sword saints. It is the Empire's most elite stage, where the greatest warriors in the land converge. If 𝒂𝒅 comes too, it will be perfect, she thinks. To her, I am invincible. I must invite him. Surely 𝒂𝒅 seeks a world larger than this small territory. Later, I practice alone under the moon. The encounter with Arena lingers like a shadow. She must be reeling, seeing a stranger wield the secret techniques of her deceased father. I sense a lingering presence. Arena has been watching me from the darkness for hours. How long do you plan to hide? I ask. She steps out, looking utterly bewildered. I was simply observing from the sidelines, as I always have. 𝒂𝒅 responded with cool indifference. Thank you for allowing me to witness your blades. Honestly, your style feels hauntingly familiar to me. It reminded me of a certain someone, and I momentarily lost my composure. Please, forgive my silence. Aesir didn't mind. If it wasn't a threat, it wasn't his concern. Is my evaluation finally finished then? Yes. You have my complete trust. Now, it is time I shared the Empire's darkest classified secrets. During the Great War, legendary figures stood as our shield. The Archmage who decimated the demon race. The twin icons, Sir 𝒏𝒏 and Lady Lenia. But now, these legendary heroes are vanishing one by one. The hero of this province destroyed his own manor and disappeared. Even Banbaka has fallen. The northern front is a nightmare. With Lady Lenia gone, the seals broke and monsters are swarming. We have lost all contact with the dragon slayers and archmages. The world is spiraling into chaos. Aesir fell silent, processing the grim news. It was just as he feared. He turned to Irina. "What of Hyban?" he asked. Irina replied that Sir Hyban had already departed on the king's orders. He is hunting for the missing legends and investigating the global crisis. Before he left the city, he specifically told me to brief you on everything. Aesir recalled Hyban's heavy question from that day. "Will you help us protect this world? Will you fight the coming darkness?" Aesir's expression turned cold. "You want me to stand on the front lines of this chaos again?" He had already decided. "Irina, I refuse. I will not waste my breath or time on these supposedly noble causes. I am no hero. My only obsession is the ultimate peak of the sword now and forevermore. I live for my steel alone. I have no desire for glory. I'll simply crush whoever interferes." Irina was stunned for a heartbeat. Then she smiled. "I see. Hyban said you never wavered. He claimed you were a man who dedicated his entire existence to the edge of a blade. In that regard, you are just like him. So, what is your next move, Sir Aesir?" "The Imperial Sword Gate. I need to uncover the hidden truth behind my own strange reincarnation. If that man is still there, he might have the answers I seek." Irina gasped in surprise. "Why that place?" Suddenly, Lekka ran toward them, beaming with joy. "Lady Irina, you're here too. Look, the Royal Academy acceptance letter. You must come with me to the capital, Sir Aesir. The timing is perfect. Sir Aesir, will you escort us?" He gave a slow, deliberate nod. "Very well. One last journey with them is fine. I'll be saying goodbye to Lekka soon anyway." The day of departure arrived. Crowds gathered to wish the young lady a bright and glorious future. Her father held her hands. "Travel safely. Karen and Luke will guard the estate while you're away." Lekka nodded firmly. Her mother turned to Aesir. "She will be lonely. Please, look after her. Make sure you both return together." Aesir bowed. "I will protect her as her traveling companion. I'll play the role of her guardian for now, but I know I won't be coming back. Why was I reborn? Why did the gods target me? Where are my old comrades hiding now? These questions haunt my every step. To move forward, I must cut my way to the truth." Clyke shook Irina's hand. "Thank you, Captain. Your service here has been invaluable. Safe travels to you." She accepted his thanks gracefully. Clyke then gestured to the prisoner, his expression hardening as he spoke. "By the king's decree, I am handing over this goblin." Irina stared coldly at the caged creature. "You will rot in a dungeon for eternity." The goblin sneered. "Do I have a choice?" The villagers cheered as Lekka left. "Long live the lady. Rot in hell, you green monster." They hurled insults at the beast, but the goblin remained eerily calm, his eyes full of malice. "A human prison? They think they can hold me. I will have my freedom soon enough." Inside the carriage, Lekka hesitated. "Lady Irina, may I ask you something?" Irina nodded for her to continue. "How did a dark elf become a captain? It must have been nearly impossible in human society." Irina smiled softly. "I did it to follow the path of a man I admired, a true legend. I was raised as a high elf, fueled by a burning hatred for all of humanity. But after my tribe was slaughtered, a warm hand reached out to me, the lone survivor. He was the captain of the guard, yet he took me in like his own flesh and blood. Though he was a man of iron discipline, his heart was filled with silent, paternal love. I followed in his footsteps, but his death left a void that only my memories can fill." Asir's eyes narrowed as he spoke. "This man, was he your father?" Irina beamed with pride. "Indeed. He was the great master Aesir." She spoke of his legendary blade, a man who reached a realm beyond even the greatest heroes. "I devoted my life to his swordsmanship, eventually rising to the very position he once held." Aesir's heart sank, realizing she saw his cold distance as a gift rather than a burden. Lekka crossed her arms, noting the uncanny resemblance between the two. Before the word reincarnation could even be uttered, a blood-curdling scream pierced the air. A man drenched in crimson collapsed before them. "Help! They're taking everyone in the village." 𝒂𝒅 didn't hesitate for a second. He was already moving toward the chaos. Irina commanded her troops forward, leaving a few to guard the wounded survivor. Golan's eyes darkened. "This isn't human work. I smell the stench of the abyss." The aura of a demon lingered in the air. This was a trap of pure malice. When 𝒂𝒅 and Licka arrived, they found nothing but a graveyard of broken dreams. Who would commit such a tragedy? Licka hissed as the enemy's voices echoed nearby. "Kill anyone who resists. Load the cattle onto the wagons." 𝒂𝒅 struck like a thunderbolt. These weren't mere bandits. They were the filth of the world, the slave traders. 𝒂𝒅 recognized the mark. A criminal syndicate he had crushed in his previous life. Scum from the northwest, where the trade of human lives is whispered in the shadows. Licka's rage boiled over at such subhuman cruelty. "By imperial law, your lives are forfeit. Die where you stand." The slaughter was instantaneous. The survivors wept as their chains were shattered by the mysterious knights. Irina arrived just as the dust settled, checking on the safety of the rescued. With their homes in ashes, 𝒂𝒅 made a choice. "We bring them to the Empire. I will provide sanctuary until your village rises from the ruins," Irina promised. A small boy tugged at 𝒂𝒅's cloak. "Thank you for saving us, big brother." 𝒂𝒅 patted his head, relieved that the children were spared from a darker fate. Suddenly, 𝒂𝒅's eyes widened. A mark on the boy's forehead, the mark of a guardian. "Irina, this boy. He is the heir to Lord Crocus, the ruler of the Abyss." Irina gasped in shock. "The Shadow Realm? How could you possibly know that?" This child was the successor to the most mysterious title in the entire empire, the underworld hero who stands watch over the great rift where demons dwell. If that rift ever bursts, a tide of monsters would drown the world in blood. The Lord of the Abyss is the only one capable of maintaining the multi-layered seal, a tragic hero destined to live in eternal solitude within the depths of the earth. Licka couldn't believe such a legendary protector existed in total secrecy. "He is the shield that stops the demonic waves at the very boundary of hell." Golan nodded. "Now I understand. That demonic pressure I felt. It belongs to him. A soul destined to be shrouded by the mana of the demon realm for all eternity." "What a nostalgic and heavy fate for such a small child," Golan whispered. The boy looked up with innocent eyes. "My name is Garen." During his final respite before the Dark Succession, the young boy was suddenly ensnared by ruthless slavers. He was told he was lucky, but the burden of becoming the Shadow Lord was a heavy cross. Jiran sighed, admitting that life in the sunless depths was far kinder than the cruel world outside. An orphan of the streets, he once slept in forbidden tunnels that hid a legendary, dark secret. Those depths were saturated with demonic aura, a lethal abyss where no ordinary human could ever survive. There, he became the sole disciple of Lord Crocus, the supreme sovereign of the mysterious Shadow Realm. Years later, his master chose him as the successor, sensing his god-tier affinity for forbidden dark arts. The old lord sought rest, leaving the fate of the underworld in the hands of his young prodigy. With nowhere else to go, Jiran accepted his destiny out of deep respect for his legendary mentor. Licka was moved by his resolve, knowing they would soon meet the master for the sacred ceremony. 𝒂𝒅 drifted into thought, remembering his old comrade Crocus from their bloody days on the battlefield. Decades had passed since then. Suddenly, the elite Imperial Guards arrived to greet the noble Lady Irina. Irina commanded the guards to provide immediate refuge for the innocent souls rescued from the slave traders. Before parting ways, Jiran promised to visit Licka once more, before his final ascension to power. As the sun set, Irina promised to escort them to the heart of the Empire the next morning. They were led to a familiar lodging, a place that sparked long-buried memories for the returning hero. The atmosphere felt frozen in time, unchanged since the days he served the Empire with his blade. Suddenly, a familiar shadow flickered. Kados appeared, laughing at how easily his presence was detected. 𝒂𝒅 demanded intelligence on the missing heroes, seeking clues for the ultimate revenge he secretly planned. Kados handed over classified Imperial scrolls detailing the mysterious disappearances and secret territories of the elite. A chilling rumor lingered in the air. The supreme master of the underworld had vanished without trace. The next morning, Licka felt the void of Irina's absence while they prepared for the journey ahead. Kane, the elite guard captain, arrived to lead them, his presence signaling the start of a new chapter. Lecca wondered why Irina wasn't there, but Kane explained she was called away on urgent imperial business. They headed toward the academy, the prestigious cradle of power where future legends were forged in steel. Looking out, Lecca was mesmerized by the capital's grandeur, far surpassing the humble lands of their home. But Acer remained skeptical, knowing the Empire's peace rested solely on the shoulders of the missing Crocus. If the guardian of the Demon Gate had truly vanished, the entire realm was on the precipice. Something dark had transpired. Lecca noticed the grim shadow of worry clouding Acer's usually stoic face. Acer hid his turmoil behind a calm mask as Kane assured them they would arrive shortly. The captain promised them comfort, unaware that he was escorting a man who once ruled the battlefield. For Acer, returning to the Empire felt like walking back into a den of old ghosts. Lecca gazed at the massive academy, an architectural marvel even grander than the Lord's majestic castles. This was the sacred ground where Acer and his comrades had once bled during their youth. At registration, a seasoned instructor recognized Lecca's origin from the legendary AAC territory of the north. She spoke of Karen, the god-tier swordsman who stood as the pride of their entire institution. To the people of the Empire, Karen was an invincible wall that no warrior could ever breach. However, the academy had no room for the weak. A trial by fire awaited the newcomers. Lecca was ready for the challenge, but Acer excused himself to hunt for clues in the shadows. He trusted Lecca's latent power, knowing her sword would speak louder than any words ever could. Kane promised to protect the young lady while Acer vanished into the depths of the capital. They entered the Hall of Blades, a place where the air was thick with the scent of steel. A veteran knight with a piercing gaze sat waiting, his aura heavy enough to crush the weak. The man introduced himself as Havan, the ruthless examiner who broke the spirits of aspiring heroes. His voice was cold as ice, warning Lecca that he would show her no mercy today. Noble blood means nothing when steel meets skin. All are equal before the blade. Draw your weapon. If you can land even one strike, you pass this trial. Havan unsheathed a massive blade, his expression cold as the surrounding teachers watched. As an elite royal knight, the professor was a wall no student could scale. The academy's entrance exams were notoriously brutal, yet Kane sensed Lecca held hidden power. Suddenly, Havan moved with blinding speed, lunging toward the young girl like a predator. Lecca remained perfectly calm. With a decisive swing, a sharp snap echoed through the hall. Unbelievably, it was Havan's legendary sword that shattered under her overwhelming counterstrike. Both students and masters stood frozen in shock as the veteran knight collapsed instantly. Looking at the unconscious professor, Lecca felt a wave of hollow disappointment. Is that it? Why was he so weak? She wondered. The female instructor watched in trembling, sweaty silence. Meanwhile, in the bustling town, Asher navigated the streets until he reached his true destination. He stood before the legendary Sword Gate, a holy site for warriors across the world. To enter, one must bypass 3 mystical barriers that only true masters can open. Each gate conquered only reveals a more difficult trial, testing a warrior's pure soul. Countless elites have tried and failed. Most cannot even nudge the first ancient threshold. Even the renowned swordmaster Havan could never surpass the second gate's heavy seal. What lies beyond the third gate remains a total mystery to the modern martial world. Inside the courtyard, a group of desperate knights groaned as they strained against the door. They cheered for their comrade, Poitan, claiming that moving the gate at all was legendary. Poitan was hailed as a top-tier genius, yet he ultimately collapsed from sheer exhaustion. "I cannot do it," he gasped. His friends rushed over just as Asher approached them. The group looked at the newcomer, confused. "Are you here to challenge the gate too?" One knight laughed mockingly, warning Asher that this was no place for mere children. They bragged that Poitan struggled for an hour before failing. Poitan sat there, utterly drained. Asher ignored their taunts, walking forward to touch the cold, ancient stone with one hand. They joked about him not even carrying a sword, claiming the gate required massive strength. Before they could finish their mockery, Asher pushed. The massive gate slid open like paper. Their jaws dropped in disbelief. Asher stepped through and quickly closed the door behind him. He frowned in thought. In his past life, these gates had never slowed him down. He had bypassed the first, second, and even the impossible third gate with ease before. He had seen the forbidden secrets beyond the final seal, a feat no master achieved. Back then, he was just a simple guard captain, lacking any special status or bloodline. Asher walked deeper into the sanctum, seeking the ancient entity he once called a friend. "Long time no see, 𝒃, he called out. A sentient blade vibrated in the darkness. The mystical sword spoke, recognizing the soul of the captain it had known long ago. 40 years had passed, yet Asher remembered every detail of this god tier, talking weapon. 𝒃 was a transcendent being, possessing vast knowledge and the ability to read human souls. If anyone knew the secret behind his reincarnation, it would be this ancient divine blade. 𝒃 was baffled. Why does the old captain now look like a mere young boy? Asher explained that while his body had changed, his soul remained that of the captain. His gaze turned serious. He needed to know the truth behind his mysterious second life. 𝒃 agreed to investigate, projecting a wave of spiritual power to scan Asher's entire existence. As the energy flowed, the sentient sword suddenly cried out in absolute, soul-shaking terror. "Something is wrong," 𝒃 screamed. "I sense a foul, dark energy clinging to your soul. A malevolent entity has tainted your soul." The revelation strikes Asher like a divine, terrifying thunderclap. A dark power? Could it be Marina? Like and share for more of this epic story. Your support fuels more legendary tales. See you in the next chapter.